Welcome to 2014, or might I say, May 1st, 2006, according to the Ethiopian calendar, that is. Yes, that's how our world, our physical world, is being manipulated through this thing called time, and that I truly believe the power control force, those that presume to run this world, are operating on the Ethiopian calendar, and they have us in this future timeline with the Gregorian calendar. And so according to the Ethiopian calendar, today is actually May 1st, 2006. And so if that's the case, then we can sort of get a sense of how our future is being controlled, how our future is manufactured, because we are in the future timeline. If the power control force are operating in this past or Ethiopian timeline, so this is how they're manipulating and creating our future. It's brilliant. It's quite brilliant when you think about it. So according to the Gregorian calendar, as many of you know, I've been watching this for this pole shift that was supposed to happen, or was announced in August 2013, that it would happen in 3 months. And it just so happens that the pole shift happened on December 31st, 2013. Now, you have to understand that the power control force, they create these narratives and these scripts, so they can create whatever it is that they want. So I think it's quite interesting that the pole shift actually happened on December 31st, 2013. And this was not in the news. It was announced, but it was not a big announcement. But as far as I'm concerned, it's quite significant in terms of the narrative that's playing out, because things will intensify. This is a turning point in which we will see intensification of things that will be transpiring on the physical world stage. That is, through the narratives that are playing out. Earth changes, more intensification of things, or chaos and mayhem transpiring around the world. And we saw this with this polar vortex that happened shortly thereafter, or during this time. The polar vortex is just a subliminal play on words, meaning more or less the solar vortex, the change that we are going to see transpiring in our solar system. But from the power control force standpoint, they manipulate our weather. So they created this eastern seaboard drift, or polar drift. And they have the capacity to manipulate our weather. So they have created this on the eastern shores of the United States, major weather changes. So extreme that it reminded me of the movie The Day After Tomorrow. That was the movie that popped up, and I posted this on my Facebook page. So for those of you who wish to join me on Facebook, I do post there from time to time now, very infrequently. As time goes on, I'm less drawn to do these type of sharings, and I will share with you more of the direction that I'm moving into, because I really want to support you all in coming to your own self-realization, because that is what is going to sustain you through all this. It's really not knowing the deeper truths. I mean, that's an aspect of it, but it's really about how do you position yourself to thrive despite what's going on around you on this physical world stage. And that's the opportunity now. So I'm going to just highlight some of the things that I'm looking at. And because of the fact that I have a deeper understanding of the timeline that we're on, this grand mutation that's happening in 2020, which I've talked about, and this year being the year in which we need to watch for Israel and Palestine and what transpires there, because that will be the precipice, or the cue that we need to look for in terms of the Third World War that will ensue on the physical world stage. It's already in place to unfold. But surprisingly enough, this year is the year of the horse from a Chinese New Year perspective, and I thought that I wasn't surprised. If we look at the 4 horses of the apocalypse, that's a Revelation type of theme that's playing out. I'm not surprised that this would be the year of the horse, and this Trojan horse, the Trojan War that will ensue or precipitate the Third World War. Trojan, or the word Troy, happened, the Trojan horse or the Trojan War happened in the land of Troy, which is Turkey, another word for Turkey, so we have to watch for Turkey too. I found it very interesting that Sandra Bullock pretty much took away all the awards in the female category, Best Dramatic Actress, this is for People's Choice Awards, Best Comedian Actress, and another one for the Actress Awards for her role in Gravity. I wouldn't be surprised if Gravity wins Best Picture this year. The Sochi Olympics is scheduled for 2/7/2014. If we do the numbers or add the numbers on this 2/7/2014, it ends up being 7. So what does that signify from a numerological standpoint? It looks to me like another 9/11, because 2 and 7 equals 9. It's just symbolic of another 9/11 to me. But it's interesting that this Sochi Olympics, we not only have the Sochi Olympics, but we'll have the Super Bowl before the Sochi Olympics starts, which will be interesting. And then we have the World Cup and another major event, which I can't bring to mind. But let's look and see what happens at the Super Bowl halftime. What symbols or archetypes come out of this Super Bowl that leads up to the Sochi Olympics. And then we have to look at the opening and closing ceremonies of the Sochi Olympics to get clues as to what potentially could be unveiled in the year 2014. Again, these are rituals. These are ritual events. But interesting enough, there's some signs proliferating on the physical world stage. Procter & Gamble did a video. They are one of the major sponsors for the Sochi Olympics. And I'll post this in the description, probably along with some links to some of the things I'm speaking of here, maybe so that you can connect some dots on your own. But Procter & Gamble just put out a video. They are a major sponsor for the Sochi Olympics, and you see a lot of people falling, skaters, athletes falling, babies falling down, and that signifies to me it's like the fall of man, falling into this massive hypnosis, the fall of man, Paradise Lost theme that continues to play out in different ways and forms. It's again part of the narrative. But interesting enough, Brazil will be hosting the World Cup in July, and it's just been announced that a teen that is paralyzed, paraplegic, will kick the first ball at the opening of the World Cup. And this falls in line with this Procter & Gamble video of people falling down, and it's just another play on this whole theme of transhumanism. But apparently, and I'll put the link to this video, this young teen will be wearing a apparatus which will work on his brain and provide him the capability to kick the ball because he's a paraplegic. But here we have the augmentation of technology with the human body, and so this is the transhumanism agenda at play here, and the world will be seeing that. It's okay to use technology to augment or to become the superhuman, but must not fall into this ploy. We must not fall prey to the unfoldment of this transhumanism agenda, because if we allow this to happen, then we are allowing ourselves to be a part of an inorganic process in terms of the transformation that is underway, which is really an organic process. This is an attempt by the power control force to control your evolution, and by making robots or drones and using technology to supersede the capabilities and the abilities of you as a human being. That's the agenda, to create a superhuman that supersedes the capabilities that you and I have. Anyway, so let's watch out for the Super Bowl, and as things intensify on the Earth plane, we'll see more Earth changes. 2014 will be a year to watch the United States. But again, it's just like we'll have to see. This also year will be the year I can see of the Bible. There's 2014 will be the year of the Bible. There's 3 movies coming out, 3 themes, one on Noah, Mary, the Virgin Mary, and the Exodus at the end of the year. And then also Pope Francis is going to be visiting the Holy Land, Jerusalem, May 24th to the 26th. Jerusalem having a very significant, deeper meaning to the star Sirius, or Bethlehem is. He's going to be visiting Jerusalem and Bethlehem. Bethlehem is really representative of the star Sirius. And so the dog theme, the dog star, the dog theme will be coming up. You'll probably be seeing a lot of dogs movies and the dog theme coming up this year again. But what we really want to be watching for is Israel and Palestine, and in the news, as April is a timeline in which they are supposed to come to some resolution. And but they are going to be the catalyst, Israel and Palestine. And this is when we have the tetrad, which I've talked about, the lunar tetrads. And then we have the cardinal cross, which we are in the midst of right now. The cardinal cross is intensifying at this particular time right now. So these are some of the things that I wanted to share with you, but more importantly, my role is to support people. I mean, connecting the dots at a deeper level is a part of the evolutionary trajectory that we are on. I mean, and it's connecting the dots is part of one's unfoldment. Is one to be able to see clearly. Do you notice that you're able to see things more clearly now? Like, it's more, it's easier. Life is getting a little bit easier. I know that's happening for me. It's just more fluid and more graceful, and it's just, life is just a little bit more easier, for those that are engaging their own unfoldment. That's the potential, that's the possibility for each and every one of us. But remember, and it's so important, that we not get caught up in these narratives, these scripts that are playing out. I was visiting family this holiday season in New York, and I was there when they had this big shutdown on January 2nd, and we were scheduled to go to some theater in Manhattan, and my mother had bought tickets, I guess, in July or August, and for all of us to go, and this happened to be the day in which they were suggesting everyone stay home and not go out or not drive. It's interesting how I would read about all these things, about these announcements, these public service announcements, referring to extreme weather conditions, and the suggestion that people stay home and not go out. And we heard about this during the Sandy Hook or the Hurricane Sandy, and so they're just conditioning people to get used to listening to people of authority who make these announcements, and hopefully people will start heeding the suggestion. And so my mother was not willing to go out that day, and I knew what was at play here, and yes, there was a storm, but how many years have gone by where there have been major storms, more significant, and it was pretty extreme weather to be driving in. It was after the show that the snow started, but I defied everything, and I knew I just couldn't allow myself to be subjected to this conditioning and programming that's playing out, and how this whole area of compliance, how they are manipulating humanity to comply through the media in these extreme weather conditions. And it's just, again, taking away people's liberties and rights in a very subliminal way. And so I defied everything, and I went down to the city, and I stayed with my friend who lives close to the city, and we went to the show, and my mother ended up getting tickets for another day, which was fine, but I couldn't have gone because I was leaving town. But because I know at a deeper level what's going on, I just refused to allow myself to be subjected to this conditioning, this programming that's playing out, on how people are allowing themselves to be manipulated, and they don't even know it. So I didn't say anything, but because of the deeper knowledge, I know what's going on, that our weather is being manipulated, that they're using the weather in order to control the masses, in the United States. It's just incredible. So I had my first experience of dealing with being in a position of what I know, that the narratives are playing out, and being amongst people who have no idea of what's happening and allowing themselves to be manipulated. So I share that with you because that was firsthand experience. I wasn't just listening and knowing. I wasn't just reading about it. I had firsthand experience of how many are being manipulated into acquiescing their rights, their freedoms, their sovereignty, and how incrementally that is being taken away, and that they are looking to the external continuously for direction, and they will acquiesce out of fear. And so I saw on another note, and I'll end up with this, I was watching a very brief clip with Deepak Chopra, and Susan Blackmore, and two other gentlemen I don't recall, and they were at war about consciousness, and it's so interesting to watch these dialogues, and how they're saying, consciousness is, they were really getting into semantics, and it was just so confusing. And if we, I said, I wish I was there. I could just, give them a whole different perspective, and then see how they respond. Because the mind, the thought process and thought, as I've mentioned so many times, is not yours. These are not processes. The universe, you are beyond the universe, the construct of the universe. So if I pose that question to Deepak Chopra, that the universe is a manipulation, and that the mind, the thought process and thought are not ours, that they are manufactured. The universe is manufactured. And all these laws of physics and science and religion, they're all lies, right? So if we look at awareness from that perspective, that awareness is the ultimate reality. Awareness is the ultimate reality. And that the universal architects that designed this universe, that have designed the solar system and the physical world that we live in, the galaxies and everything, that they're the ones who are manipulating the awareness that is you. Because awareness, again, is the ultimate reality. So the mind, the thought process, and the physical body, they are not yours. You're captured. Your essence as awareness is simply captured by these universal architects who developed and designed this universe. So if we look at it from that perspective, then what? What can you say? What can one say when you pose that hypothesis or theory, that the laws of physics, religious doctrine, all of it is simply a lie, and that it's used to manipulate us, to keep us in confusion and doubt about the totality of who we are, and that when we look at consciousness from the perspective of the universe and the laws of physics, science, and religion, that we will never come to know the truth of who and what we are. When we look at it from that context, we'll never get there, and that we must transcend all of it. That as awareness, which is the ultimate reality, supersedes any universe. Awareness, which is the ultimate reality, supersedes any religious doctrine, scientific doctrine, laws of physics. Awareness supersedes all of that. Awareness supersedes the physical form that is you, the personality that is you, the mind, the thought process that you think is yours. Awareness supersedes all of that. And awareness is used to create all of this, all of that we exist in. And that's the dilemma, that's the quagmire of this existence. That's the problem. The problem is the universe. The problem is the thought process. The problem is the mind. It's all created in order to manipulate us because we are captured. And so the key here is that the ego aspect, that we experience this physical world, is what we are caught in as awareness. We only experience a small, minuscule aspect of the totality of who we are through this ego perspective, the personality that is you. And then I keep telling you that the ego is going to be obliterated by the year 2020. And it's already happening. We're already in the process of that. So 2020 is simply a marker. This is what we're moving towards. We don't no longer need the ego aspect in order to, it's actually what's causing the destruction, the mayhem on this physical world, the chaos, this whole area of the ego, and the fact that as awareness we're experiencing a small, minute aspect of ourselves that's simply captured, experiencing this physical experience, this physical world experience, this narrative that's playing, the narratives that are playing out, and that the power control force keep most of humanity captured in this narrative through the ego aspect, personality that is you. That's how they created the culture and the norms in which you adhere to, the belief systems that you adhere to. Everything that you believe is a lie. Imagine that. Everything you believe in is a lie. It's simply a lie. It keeps you captured in this existence. And so my role really is really to support people to reach their self-realization. And one of the things that I've realized is that, there are lots of roads, I guess, to one reaching their self-realization. But as that is your only option, really, to position yourself in order to meet the demands of what is coming your way. And I truly believe that most people won't or don't want to do that work, come to their own self-realization, because it's very hard work. A lot of people say it's very hard. It's only hard if you engage it from that perspective. It is intense work. It's not for the faint of heart, meeting your self-realization. And so I'm going to be talking more about that, because that's really what I'm here to do, is to support people. And everyone, who has attained that, which is their self-realization, or feel they have. Everyone has their own way or method of getting there. And I just want to share a method in which I've gotten that has supported me to get to where I am. I still am asleep in so many areas of, I'm still evolving and growing. But I've obtained a certain level of autonomy and sovereignty, freedom, in the gnosis of experiencing self as pure awareness, no longer confined through the construct of the mind, the thought process, and now just experiencing self as awareness through the heart. That's the opportunity for those who want to embark on that journey. And so that's really where I want to be spending more of my time. Yes, I will be sharing more in this perspective. It's important. But if I don't move to a place of sharing how one can become self-realized, then I'm really doing a disservice, because that is the catalyst that will position you to thrive despite what's going on and will ensue around us. There is going to be a boiling point, and it hasn't come yet, where many will want to embrace their own self-realization, because it will get so unbearable for many on this earth plane that they will come to the realization that there is no other option. And so then the question becomes, what is your pain and suffering threshold? Mine was very low, which is why I started this journey over 15 years ago and had what I call a dark night of the soul, which many of you may be experiencing or have experienced. What is your pain and suffering threshold? Because that is what is going to be ensuing on this earth plane. You're going to see a lot more people in pain and suffering. And that will be the catalyst for people to move into that place of either vacating, leaving this planet altogether, or living in this quagmire, this chaos, this predicament that we find ourselves in, and having to do the deeper work. We haven't reached it yet. It could be 10 or 15 years out before we reach a massive boiling point where we will see people in droves wanting to do the self-realization work. It's already happening. But the numbers are really not there. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed the show. 2014, another tumultuous, chaotic year for many, but a very luminous, enlightening year for those of us who want to shift our perception and engage in alternate reality, and a reality of our own choosing, of our own making, as we watch those who continue to allow themselves to be consumed by the control matrix in utter fear and chaos of what's going to be coming next, ensued in the drama and the trauma on the physical world plane. That's what's designed to happen here. But you have choice. You have choice each and every step of the way. So I leave you with that. The choice is yours. To be here immersed in the ego construct, believing that the mind, the thought, and the thought process and the physical body that is you and the personality that is you is all that there is. Or you have the other option of coming to know yourself as awareness, which is the ultimate reality. Experiencing a utopia of your own choosing is just allowing yourself to rest in a constant state of paradise and create and manifest a world in which you want, in the world, and then denying the world in which is being spoon-fed to you. Those are the options available to you. More is accessible to you if you choose the path of self-realization. And so I'll be talking more about that. It truly is a glorious time to be here. It truly is a glorious time to be alive. And just shift our perspective. I thank you so much. Bye-bye. And for those of you who want to join me on Facebook, I'm Karis Alexander on Facebook. You can find me out there and join me there. Bye.